I'm going to mute until we're going here. Wait for everybody to get logged in.
Justin, this will go up on YouTube, correct? Perfect. Thank you.
Hello, Martin.
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
How about you?
Very, very well. Thank you. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Martin. We're going to be live streaming here in a second. Justin said we'd be on at 4.
Sorry about that. Hey, Rose.
Hi, Martin.
We'll wait just a few more moments for our friends at Grove Mueller Swing to join us. Well, since we're streaming, I think by now, if we just want to take a moment, I'd like to introduce the Hillsboro School District Audit Committee Subcommittee of the School Board meeting today to review our financial report for the 2019-20 school year. Just want to take a moment to introduce yourselves.
I'll start, I guess. Michelle, glad to be here. Martin Granum, Hillsboro School Board.
Jeff Jones. I'm the business manager at Hillsboro School District.
Thank you both. And I'm Michelle Morrison, Chief Financial Officer for the district. And I know that we're waiting for our auditors, our independent auditors from Grove Mueller Swing to join us. In the meantime, I think I'll just go ahead and run down our agenda for this meeting. So Martin, do you have access to both the report and the overview that I sent out?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. So to kick us off, I want to just remind everybody we are live streaming. It's being recorded. And please mute if you're not talking. Before we dig too far into the report, I just want to say that it is very positive report, and I just want to take a minute to give thanks to all of the office staff that participated in throughout the year, especially during this challenging year of remote work and finding new ways to do what we do. So this is just going to take me a minute. I'd actually like to name people if that's okay. All right, so we'll start with Alejandra Avila Huacaport. She supports the whole business office. And then we have Jolene Save. She is our Department Admin Support 3. She has been focused on contract review and compliance over the last year. We have Lynette Kaufman. She's our Benefits Team Supervisor. We have Rhonda Crouch, Benefits Assistant. Diane Mendoza, who's a Benefits Assistant. Judy Jansen, who is our Benefits Assistant. Judy retired at the end of June, and Diane is getting ready to retire and move to be with her family in far, far away. So we'll have some new folks joining us in that department. Kim Granis supervises our, payroll is such a large part of the business that we do that their work is critical to our success with an audit. We have Donna Grossen, Emily Heffernan, and Bill Watkins are our payroll assistants. Overseeing the finance team, we have Jennifer Zavatsky. She's one of our newest supervisors, but she's doing an exceptional job leading her team and innovating, especially as we work our assets remotely. Connie Cannon, Tiffany McGowan, Denise Hess, and Pam Gray make up our finance team. Leah McCarthy is our risk manager, and she provides periodic reports to the board along with my cash flow reports. Christy Woodard is Jeff's successor, and she oversees all of our grants and special programs. During our COVID period, she's in charge of our FEMA and other federal funds that are coming through to us. And then, of course, Jeff Jones, our manager of business services. He's actually the facilitator of the audit and responsible for pulling all of the components to the report together. So thank you for that opportunity to just share. I know that my name's on this report, but it is really such a product of fine work from so many people. Also extends to our HR and technology departments are also heavily involved in supporting this. So thank you for letting me share for a moment. Just going right into the review and discussion of the report. I was hoping that Grove Mueller Swink, I was looking for Larry Grant. It looks like maybe he just joined us. Larry, is that you?
None other than. Sorry, I'm used to foolproof logins.
Well, that's okay. We've just been plowing right ahead. So we got all the preliminary credits out of the way. Welcome. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded. And we have Rose Roman, our executive secretary to the board, Justin Airy for communications, Jeff Jones, who you might be familiar with, and then of course Martin Granum. You've met and had discussions with Martin before, so he's representing the board in this meeting. And you just came in at the perfect time. I was hoping that you can tell us a little bit. Martin's familiar with our process, but maybe how it has changed throughout the COVID experience in accessing our information remotely, and anything that you had to do above and beyond normal procedures in order to make this information.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of room for error. So I don't know about airtight, but it's been a different year for sure, you know, not being there nearly as much. And so we were able to access the accounting system remotely, I believe. And so we were given read access to the system so that we could, you know, look at like detailed journal entries, pull up documentation of expenditure approvals and such like that. Look at payroll, you know, documents, all that kind of thing. So we were able to do most all of our work remotely, and what we couldn't access through the accounting system, I think we were able to access via scanned documents, or, you know, talking to people via Teams or Google Chat or whatever. Or telephone calls, old-fashioned things like that. So yeah, it's been a very different type of audit, but I think we've kind of adapted as we've gone along. You know, we did the initial field work. I think we learned some things from that, and I think we're continuing to learn and improve the process. But
Thank you. Didn't mean to spring that on you like that.
that's okay. I think Jeff might have information that I don't know about that he could add, or he might not too.
Jeff, did you have anything you wanted to add about process? It looked like his internet just went out, so he'll probably bring back in just a second.
Yeah. Looked like he was looking out the window and froze up there.
Yeah, for a very long time. Well, I know that he and his wife are both working from home, so it tends to be a strain on their internet at times.
Yeah. There he is.
There you are.
Did you hear me, Jeff? Or
No, my internet cut out and kicked me off.
yeah, I was just saying that I didn't know if there were things that you knew about the remote auditing process that I don't, that you wanted to add to what I'd said, or if you heard what I said.
I heard the beginning, Larry. I didn't hear much more after that. I know that I know you were talking about how you guys had access to our system to be able to do a read-only, and then everything else through a secure portal. We were basically able to upload most of the information you guys requested. I think except for there was a half-day visit where you guys had to come look at some paper files, but otherwise our team was able to upload everything that was necessary this year, which I'm sure will be something that can be utilized in future years now.
Right, and even last year before the pandemic began, we had tried to schedule, like a lot of times the first day of our audit we would do in our office. It's just more efficient. You don't have the commuting time taken up. We can full day in fewer hours, and I think it just is more efficient in many ways. I think the FaceTime is still very important, but I think going forward, I think we're going to be a lot of work is going to be done more remotely. So it's kind of been thrown into the fire a bit in that change process. I'm just really glad that a lot of our systems have been changed in the last couple of years to make this possible even. So
Do you have any questions about process?
Is that to me, Michelle? No, none. Very familiar. I appreciated the rundown from Larry and Jeff on how it was different. I'm really glad to note that. And probably nobody understands different more than HSD, or certainly me as a board member. So I think your experience is typical for the school district's experience in general. Found new ways to do amazing work.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to kick it over to Jeff to go through the highlights of the overview document and any other parts of the report that he feels he'd like to touch on.
And Martin, I know you usually have some questions. You always like to do your research ahead of time. So if you want to stop at any point through the summary, feel free and we can answer at that time. But the summary overview is something the audit committee asked us to start doing a couple years ago in order to try and pinpoint some of the key aspects of our report. So this overview is just kind of a concise review of our comprehensive annual financial report, as we'll refer to as CAFR. So one of the first things is the purpose of the CAFR document. It's a report that we develop in accordance with Governmental Finance Officers Association, or GFOA, and within generally accepted accounting procedures, or GAAP standards. Lots of acronyms that we like to use in accounting. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board is used by state and local governments in the United States. And as with most entities involved in creating GAAP in the United States, it is a private, non-governmental organization, and we're required by law to produce an annual report and submit it to an independent auditor for review and certification prior to submitting to the board, Secretary of State, Oregon Department of Education, and other entities for disclosure. So it's kind of the overall purpose of our report. And now I can go into more points of interest. The beginning of the document from pages I through 3 consists of a transmittal letter from our superintendent and our CFO. And it just kind of gives an at-large overview of the district itself and some of the key components of the district, explaining things like our location, size, what our student population has been over the years. And it also report in correspondence with the work that they've performed on internal controls, and also kind of discusses the auditor's relationship to the district. After that is a section that is a management discussion and analysis, or the MD&A. And oftentimes our CFO really puts this together as it's a lengthy narrative that really describes what the district has been doing throughout the fiscal year. And it compares it to what the district had done in the prior. It has comparisons of revenues, expenditures, fixed assets, and debt. So you can have a side-by-side comparison to see what has changed over the year as far as paying off debt or any other fixed assets that have been done. And then the next section is the notes to the basic financial statements. This takes up a large chunk of the report, where it provides detailed information on GAAP and GASB standards. It really covers a lot of the balance sheet items such as cash and receivables, debt. It touches on PERS, any kind of OPEB liabilities that we have, and goes into a lot more detail in those areas. Then we get into the section, one piece we really like to point out in this summary is the schedule of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the general fund, which is our primary fund. It's often referenced for operational finance with budgetary context, and it's a specific point of interest to both potential lenders and bargaining units is the fund balance. And we, on that page, which is page 79 of the report, it was showed that the district met our 4% fund balance as was budgeted, and which was the goal of the board, was to have a fund balance of 4% at the end of the year. So, and then after those few pages, there's also similar reports for our special revenue funds, our debt service fund, and our capital project fund that have the same type of information, comparing it to the budget and showing the year's expenditures and revenues. The following section would be the schedule of revenues and expenditures, and it's by fund. The revenue report that would be on page 86, it compiles all funds in one page. So you'd be able to see the 100 fund is the general fund, the 200 funds are the special revenue, 300s are our debt service funds, and the 400s are our capital project funds. Then following that, it has usually each fund has about 2 pages the expenditures for the year, and it breaks it out by down the column is the function, 1,000s being instruction, 2,000 support services, 3,000 community engagement, and then across the top of the document, it shows the 100s are salaries, The two are the benefit tax payroll associated costs. The 300s would be services that are provided to the district. 400s are supplies and materials, and 500s would be including anything like oftentimes capital related projects, and the 600s are more like other costs such as dues, fees, those kind of things. Following that piece of the document, there is the statistical section, and this section contains longitudinal data in the district and provides stakeholders with trends for demographics, tax collections, net position, fund balance, all sorts of fund information. Oftentimes it's banks, lenders, people, if we're going out for bonds or something, these are some of the areas that they'll look at to verify different information for the community that we're in. And that always, each of those pages in there has about a 10-year, each one has a 10-year reference to it, so you can see how it's changed over the last 10 years. Following the statistical section is the single audit section. And the single audit section is where we report on our CFA, which is the schedule of expenditures for federal awards. Since we receive over, I believe it's now $750 million in federal funds, we're required to have a single audit done, which means that the auditors will not only do a financial audit of our general fund and all of our money as a whole, but they'll also have to pick specific federal programs we receive and test them in accordance with the uniform guidance, which has a step-by-step program in it that requires we follow certain guidelines when we spend federally awarded money. This year, they tested our IDEA program and our migrant education program. And I'm happy to say that there were no findings identified in those programs, which is fantastic. It's great work by our student services and our OSP departments who are in charge of those two different programs. And then at the end of the whole book, there's the compliance section where there's closing notes from the auditors and summaries of activities and compliance, and a couple of wonderful pages again that say we did really well this year with no material findings or anything like that. Is there anything you would like to add, Michelle, or is there any questions?
I just a matter of note is that we moved more money this year than we ever have historically as a district, and because of that, because of the additional bond sale and required extra control, extra monitoring, caution, our capital projects was phenomenal, and his team. And the accountability around that. There is actually a separate audit of just the bond funds as well. So that's something to watch for. We'll probably bring that forward early spring, hopefully, for the same fiscal year period. It's an optional internal audit we do just for accountability purposes. But I'm interested in any questions or points of interest that Martin might have.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Jeff, for that rundown. And I really appreciate the summary, the code breaker, if you will, and stepping me through it. Honestly, I was thinking this is my fourth time being on the audit committee, and Michelle and Jeff and Larry, you have taught me how to read these reports, and that's no small feat. Certainly not an expert, but I am no longer intimidated or scared to death by a 157-page audit report. I find it fascinating reading. That's probably why I'm still here on the audit committee. I love it. It's a powerful insight into the corporation. And it gets right to the heart of our stewardship and credibility with the taxpayers and, the public who sustains us. So I'm so grateful. I just wanted to confirm that on page 139, which is the next to last page, the bottom paragraph, it reads, quote, "In connection with our testing, nothing came to our attention that caused us to believe the district was not in substantial compliance." And it goes on. That's sort of the bottom line, isn't it?
That is the bottom line, and I couldn't be more excited about that.
Yep.
I'm thankful for the thoroughness of our audit team, the support that our independent auditors give us throughout the year. If we have questions about internal controls or procedures or levels of materiality, we bring them right in, and they're our partner in that. And it's just all of that preventative support really lends itself to a well-run, tight ship, and it shows in this report, and I'm very thankful for that. I would like to state that we did put this preliminary information forward when we refunded the bonds back in November, right before the election. I guess it was mid-October. And the information in that allowed us to maintain our bond rating, even in the throes of a wildly unpredictable pandemic and wildfires lighting up Oregon. So it was just a real testament to our ability to stay focused and maintain accountability when it mattered. So I'm just very pleased. You might be able to tell I'm pretty excited.
It's okay to be very pleased, Michelle. You've got an all-star team that you recognized up front. Larry, just before you joined us, Michelle really introduced her entire staff, which is an all-star team. And I recognize their efforts here too. This, produce a 157-page report that's just glowing without a whole lot of people doing really amazing work, seen and unseen, and it shows. And even as a board member, when I get this report, I'm able now to go right to the spots that I need to take a look at, and it's pretty clear to me that it's a great report. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's unusual that there isn't something to talk about in one of these opinions, or at least having a finding and spending millions of dollars. That's almost $15 million in federal dollars, and not having something that you see that comes up in a compliance area or question costs or what have you. It's just not the norm. So hats off to the district, and I think they've come a long ways in the last 5 years. I think, and it shows. Their hard work shows.
Something, Jeff, that you mentioned is worth highlighting too when you brief the larger board tonight in board session. The 4%, the hitting the the audit, it validates it's not so much an audit finding, it's just so much a validation of our financial infrastructure that we set a goal and we hit it. I mean, 4% is kind of dancing on the head of a pin, really. And we, as I like to say in my other world, we landed the space shuttle at Twin Oaks Airport. We came in screaming hot from deep space and parked it. It's pretty amazing work.
Yeah, I like it when you say that, because that's what it feels like. It's terrifying.
Yeah, there's heat generated in spots.
Definitely. Maybe we lost a few tiles and re-entering the atmosphere too, but landing you can walk away from is a good one, right?
Well, I didn't get this hairdo by accident.
One other thing that probably is worth highlighting in the board session is the other two audits of the other two special programs. And it really speaks to the broad financial excellence throughout the district and across all the programs. So that's a powerful endorsement.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that one, Martin. Christy's done a really good job of working through it. She's now our grant manager. She's done a really good job of working with the departments and really being very personable with them. So she's done a great job at really being able to help them get to where they need to be, so we can have things that used to be a problem in the past no longer be a problem in the future, and helping explain why we need to do the things we do, even though, you know, sometimes it seems like a hassle at times for people, but she's done a good job of communicating all that stuff. So, and thank you as well, Larry. And like Michelle was saying, I want to second that. Like, Larry is easily accessible for us when there's new GASB requirements or GAP requirements. There'll be oftentimes I get emails from Teresa after, you know, Grove Mueller's gone to a training on something new, being like, hey, here's some slides about something that's going to change for your document this year. So it gives me a chance to review them early and ask questions to kind of have that stuff ready to go with their heads up. So I always appreciate being able to reach out to them with any questions.
Well, thank you. That was my agenda for the meeting, and we don't need to belabor it longer. Martin, I know that you probably want a little space before we go into a work session and then later regular session. And if you guys are good with that, we'll go ahead and close this out.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Jeff and Larry and team. Much appreciated. I'll see you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Rose and Justin.
Thank you.